Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Beef Medium Podcast. I'm your host, Zach, aka Snack with Zach. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus since November. I know an episode came out last week, but there have been some changes. One of the big things was, as fun as I had with the guests one-on-one, I wanted an extra dynamic involved in the conversation, which takes us to our guest today, my brother Matt, who's done so much throughout his life. We started off creating content together when we were kids on YouTube. This is back in 2007, 2008. And through his life, he's just done so much between working at trailer houses, working for Tasty and BuzzFeed. Now he edits for all sorts of random celebrities and cool people in the culinary world. So one of the big things I wanted to do was to bring him on as my co-host, which means that going forward after this episode, we will be doing them all together for the most part, bar any random changes. When I started the podcast, I set the bar high, and we are looking to take it even higher. In summary, Beef Medium is back. We're looking to do this every week. No more seasons garbage, and it should be really exciting. All that said, please say hello to my brother, Matt. And we are going to talk about it. I don't think either of us have opened that box in a really long time, but given how kind of full circle it is that we decided to do something again together, I felt like we just had to talk about it.
It's funny because Liz said before we hopped in here, she's like, "Oh, are you going to talk about like all the old YouTube stuff?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know if it comes up. So right out the gate is very funny to me.
Well, airing the dirty laundry, because it's such a necessary part to both of our stories. Because what was it like? You think it was? When do you tell people? Do you ever talk about it with people just generally? When do you say that we started?
You started before me. I would say
but like barely.
You enough that I would like qualify it as something. You were on YouTube probably 2007.
Yeah.
And then I think I got on about 2008.
Do you remember anything specific? Because there are things that I forget about that I'm constantly reminded of later on that I'm like, oh my God, that was a thing.
I had a really interesting experience recently that I think jogged a lot of memories for me. Okay. I got to do some editing last year for the Try Guys.
Yeah.
And one of the perks of that was being invited to their Christmas party. And some of the people from Smosh were there. And for me, I don't recognize the new people on Smosh as much now. I think they're all very funny. Angela, Shane, all of them. I think it was Ian there, and it just flooded me back to like Boxman.
I was going to say Boxman is the first thing I think of from that era, 100%. I couldn't tell you like any other Smosh skit at this point aside from Boxman.
They had Food Battle. What was it? Food Battle 2008, Food Battle 2009.
Distant memory.
I think another person I saw at the party was, and I don't remember their name as a content creator, but it's the person who did shoes and muffins.
It's like Neil Kyle Jacob Smith or something.
Yes,
it's Liam Kyle
potentially
something like that.
I mix them up with, I think it's like Neil C. Sarega, or I'm butchering his last name, who did Potter Puppet Pals.
Yeah,
and see, this is what happened was like, that happened, and it was like, oh, and it was shoes, and then it was muffins, and it was like memes before memes were a thing, and it was like Vines before Vines were a thing, because you had like sitting on the toilet, and you had like, where's the chapstick, and just... Yeah, that's early YouTube for me. That and like Niga Higa.
I was gonna say How to Be Ninja was one of them.
Yeah, all of the early like vloggers. Justine.
Liam Kyle Sullivan. Yeah, I get random recommendations of videos from 15 years ago. Not Charlie Bit Me. What was the Charlie the Unicorn? A lot of Charlies.
Charlie the Unicorn.
That to me was a fever dream. Everybody thought that was hilarious. I hated it. Salad fingers, stuff like that. But the things that I was thinking about was like when YouTube used to have like a star system. So instead of thumbs up, thumbs down as a star system, you used to have those side like profile things where you had your profile banner and all that stuff. the UI things from way back when. Like you go to your channel and you have that whole side bit.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember YouTube before annotations were a thing. I remember when annotations were added, you could go crazy with them. And so when people were shit posting, they would make like art with the annotation boxes, or it'd be all over the video. And I haven't even gone back to see if they work, because I don't. They like added things and they removed things, and it's like the whole interface of the website itself has just changed so much as well.
It's wild.
So
I don't know if I know how to navigate it from way back when. Although it to me, it's gotten a little more confusing. But this is a fun way to talk about all the things that you've done.
Hold on. Before we even get to that, we have to name drop the channels then.
Oh, we will. But I want to throw the fact that I don't understand YouTube now, and you've literally written several series of YouTube for Dummies. So don't get it twisted. People, not that I'd ever think that you're a nobody, but Matt comes with serious clout. It's like you're like a sleeper pick of a person when it comes to media, because you've done a ton.
I wouldn't say I have any clout of any sort, but I do like the term. I like the term sleeper. I like the things that are like understated and it's like, oh, they know how to do things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't say several series either. It was
several books in a series.
Two books.
That's several.
In a series of 3.
Exactly.
So, yeah, YouTube channels for Dummies, a Wiley Publishing thing. When you're at Barnes and Noble and it's like all of those 4 Dummies books, it's one of those. And so they're all, it's not ghostwritten. They're all just written by like freelance writers. And so, yeah, I mean, Zach and my early YouTube days informed, because we were in the partner program. We got into the partner program early. We had a lot of like good analytical knowledge of the website, and our dad happened to work at a company that was doing YouTube like marketing research.
We are not Nepo babies, for the record. That makes it sound
it's like the opposite. Well, I mean, me writing the book is nepotism.
That is nepotism.
That is absolutely nepotism. But I would say it's almost the other way around, because we were on YouTube first, and then he ended up getting a job at a company that wanted to like get acute understanding of how like analytics worked and how advertising worked. And so when he was working on the first volume of YouTube channels for Dummies, all of the back end for our YouTube pages was kind of what informed that, because at that point we had full unfettered access to the website, because there was just, I think, 1 degree of partner program at that point, and that was just how it was.
We should talk about what we actually did, because it's important. So, I mean, by all means.
Legos.
We did do Lego content. We were super into Legos as a kid.
Still are.
Well, then we kind of, I wouldn't say we like grew out, like we lost interest kind of, but like life happens. Well, hold on.
I never lost interest.
No, like neither did I, because I remember being in like college and buying them. I remember being in high school and buying them, but like the high school area of time, you kind of like just have all this like other stuff going on. College, you move away, you don't really have the space you want. But being years down the line in adults with places that we live and more disposable income and not like begging parents to buy things, it's really come back full force, because Matt's got, I mean, in the room behind him, he's got, I mean, thousands upon thousands of bricks. Maybe, do you think you have 1 million bricks in your collection?
No.
What counts as 1 million bricks? I don't know. I mean, think about it. If you have multiple sets that have thousands, I can't do math that fast. Yeah, so that's what Matt and I were doing in 2008 to 2000 something, mid 20, I don't know, like 2012 plus longer. I don't really remember, because like I did for a point just kind of lose interest in it. So I went off and tried to do gaming. Matt continued it for a while, but yeah, Brick Boys 518, man, we did it for a long time. And I think by the time we finished, we had 100-something thousand subscribers. Did we never cross that mark?
We hit 20,000.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second. I'm fact checking this in real time. That's crazy. In my head, we had, oh my God, he's right. We had 20,000. Jeez.
Yeah.
I could have sworn for like years I was telling people that we had 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Because early YouTube, it felt like that. Like I remember when we first got into the partner program, because I think the prerequisite for getting into the partner program wasn't that crazy. It was something like 1,000 subscribers or like 3,000 subscribers or something like that. we qualified, and the money, even at our low subscriber rate, the money was so good back then.
Do you remember what it was?
I think we got like $1,000 our first month on the ad program, which back in that day was crazy, and for a high schooler was like, holy shit, what am I doing?
Big
and
money.
they quickly course corrected after that, and they changed it, and the percentage just kept going down and down and down and down and down. And then for the longest time, the channel was kind of like subsisting on fumes, where I would get a deposit for a check every like 6 to 9 months, and the way it was structured is they're like, we'll pay you once your balance hits like $100. And so every now and then, like at random, like maybe twice a year, I get like $100 deposit from it. And it was like, oh shit, yeah, that's a thing. That's still cooking right now.
See, what I need to do is I need to go back sometimes and watch some of the stuff just for nostalgia, because I had like a whole other YouTube channel that I used to do stuff on, and I had hundreds of videos archived that I had hidden like ages ago. And then Google did something with their accounts like 6 months ago, and they completely wiped everything I had archived on that account. Like the Chatty Cheese, that was my original handle. The Chatty Cheese account was every single video I had in that account was wiped from Google's database. And they're like, we don't know. It's just gone. We transitioned accounts and da-da-da. And I had no idea. They didn't give us any warning. And so I lost, my childhood was in a lot of those videos. And they were in a lot of the Brick Boys videos, but I was furious that day. It was terrible.
You don't have it saved on a hard drive or anything anyway?
No way, man. Because I had just a lot of gaming stuff like that. And most of that point, it wasn't really like I didn't care that much about it when I was, in like college or something. But obviously, as things have changed, and Snack with Zach has grown, and I think about what things were like and where we started. I really, really wish I had those videos. It just, this is people think that things like this happen overnight, but this was years and years in the making. If I started in 2007, you started in 2008. That's almost 20 years of work has gone into making something. I'd always kind of set out to do something after that, and I finally hit it a couple of years ago. But that's 15 years of trying to make things happen.
I get wanting to like reflect on like your old stuff, but I'm glad some of my old videos are
of course
expunged from the internet. It's just it's so cringy for me. Even for the longest time, I haven't gone back and watched like the Lego videos at all. But even was like in college looking at it, I can hear my voice drop on camera. Like you can hear both of our voices drop on camera, which is like trippy given how long it was. And it's just like it makes me shudder thinking about that. No, I don't hate it, but it's just like I'm not going to reflect on it at all.
I want to talk about why we decided to pursue this together, because your career path has been, absolutely fascinating, and a lot of it revolves around food, because we grew up around food, and I don't know if that was intentional by your part, but you went to Emerson College way back when. You studied screenwriting. And then you moved out to Los Angeles. You worked at multiple trailer houses and production companies, including you did Epic Rap Battles for a while with, was it Maker Studios?
I just worked as a PA on that, but for a minute.
You've done a lot of cool things, which ultimately landed you at Tasty with BuzzFeed. And you were not a nobody. You obviously held you had a lot of different roles, but you were a producer and you were on-screen talent as well. So like you did a lot.
Yes, I agree. I did do a lot while I was there. I would be shocked if anybody remembered any of my videos. Because I was there during the same era as like Alvin and Alex and Rie and Alexis and Jasmine and like so many people who like had good recurring formats that they could tap into. My favorite videos, I think, were some of the ones that I wasn't on camera, and that was kind of where I would really like go ham with things. But yeah, I was there for a good minute. I was there.
It was like 5 years.
No, no, not that long. I think I was there late 2017 through like 2021.
Yeah, that tracks, because I remember you having to
Yeah.
shoot everything in your kitchen because of
Yeah.
the pandemic as well. There was a whole thing. You literally shot a video with our mom too, and that's still on Tasty, which was awesome. And but even if you weren't on camera all the time, I mean, what you do now too is, Matt runs an editing company. Like, you have your own editing company, and so you do edit for like the Try Guys, and you do tons of other work too. But a lot of it
Yeah.
revolves around food. It's very consistently been food since what we used to 2017. A lot of it's been not entirely food, but a lot of it's been food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The loving food is a given in our house. Like, we
Yeah, that's
both
the thing.
grew up with like, I think for me personally, what really like sums up my childhood and my relationship to food in a way is the scene in Chef where he takes his kid to get beignets for the first time. And they go to like Cafe du Monde, and like our dad did that for us years, like a decade and a half, like years. Actually, no, if it came out at the end of college, like 15 years before that movie came out.
Yeah, I was probably
And
like
so,
5 or 6. So.
Yeah, we grew up in a house where like loving food was like mandatory, but also exciting. Like, the passion that our parents had with food, I think, is part of the reason why we love it so much. Is like,
For sure.
we weren't forced to eat things, for nutrition. Well, I mean, we were. We 100% were. That is so inaccurate.
I remember mom always being like, as an adult, like, she's now like, oh, my parents like always forced me to eat things from like, I would be up until 3 a.m. because I wouldn't eat peas. And she's like, I would never do that to you guys. And then I remember, she gonna listen to this too. Sorry, Ma.
Sorry, Ma.
I remember like sitting there not wanting to eat some of the shit that was on the plate, and she would never like force feed it, and eventually she'd be like cool with it. But 100%, like, I remember having those moments too. It was funny.
Our mom was kind of like the wellness girly before.
You make it sound like she's dead. She
No,
was.
Our mom was a wellness girl before it became trendy.
She was, yeah. Well, because it
And
was
so she's
the thing that was on her mirror in the bathroom. It was something 101, like healthy 101 or something on the, I don't know. I remember specifically. She was very big into health, which also, it's complicated given my lot of work now, but
well, it's so funny too. We grew up for reference to everyone, we weren't allowed to have processed foods growing up. We weren't allowed to have like big name brand things
except
growing
fast
up.
food. Fast food was the
Fast
exception.
food was only an exception. Fast food didn't used to be an exception by and large. It was when we moved that it became an exception.
Did it? Because Dad and I were
Yeah.
going to McDonald's all the time on Saturdays in Georgia. But Matt's always been a late sleeper, so you overslept
Oh,
those.
yeah, I certainly wasn't
It's
doing
a core
that.
memory of mine, not a core memory of Matt's. Our father's always been a big fast food guy, though. Like, when he was our age and younger, he used to house like 3 or 4 Big Macs. He was a very, very fit gentleman, so I believe it. Dude, I could send like, I don't know if I could do now, but like, imagine being 23. A Big Mac is light work.
Yeah. But to really contextualize that, like, growing up, our mom had LaCroix in like 2002.
That's true.
I remember seeing that in the cabinet, and it was always a disappointment because we weren't allowed to have like soda growing up, which was, probably for the best until like I would gain access to it as a child and have a full blown caffeine like panic attack because of it. But I used to think like LaCroix was like, I was like, oh, soda sucks because LaCroix is like orange flavored. This doesn't taste like orange at all. This tastes like someone like dropped an orange in some like fizzy water.
Yeah.
Or
I say that
like-
somebody said the name of the fruit while you were taking a sip from the other room.
Exactly. Or like we didn't really grow up when I was younger. And you have to understand, things changed for you when you got older.
And that's what's
you know what it
really
was?
interesting about this, though, is because this is particularly interesting because we're not going to remember things the same way, which is, I think it's cool because your perspective as a kid, I mean, 3.5 years is a big jump, because when we moved back to Massachusetts, I was like 10 and you were 13. So I feel like I wasn't even conscious before the age of 10 anyway, but I mean, you're a teenager now too, so you're going to remember things better than I would anyway.
I need to correct myself earlier, because you were probably right about going to McDonald's with Dad, because the catalyst for everything, the undoing of our mom's healthy ways, the undoing of the goat milk, of the fish oil, of the organic, of everything. I don't. I can't stand like taking pills, and I can't stand the taste of fish oil, because Mom used to make me take it. They used to like have it on like a spoon and make me take it, and it was fucking disgusting.
Yeah, it was like the lemon
and then
one
they were like,
nasty.
"Oh, what if we like cut it with like chocolate pudding?" And it's still.
It sounds traumatic.
Well, they were like, "How do we mask it?
How do we do it?"
So what happened was, Mom had those surgeries on her feet, and
Bunions.
Dad
she had a bunionectomies, for context.
And Dad became responsible for grocery shopping for a period of time. And
Cue the hamburger
that
helper.
was where the Campbell's soup came into the house, the hamburger helper, the like getting like a quick bite from McDonald's. That was because up until that point, I swear to God, the only fast food I ever had, by and large, there were the occasional exceptions, but there was Moe's Southwestern Grill that we would get after baseball practice every day. And God, I haven't had Moe's.
The snack wrap, dude. Mom did get us the snack wraps. I remember distinctly, because you would get the honey mustard and I would get the ranch. But again, that was like an after baseball games thing.
I used to love the snack wrap until I don't know if I got food poisoning from a snack wrap. I don't know if I was like just sick at the time, but I haven't been able to eat a snack wrap since.
It's all right. I got salmonella in December from dumplings, and I can't even think about it. Granted, this is the third time that I've got food poisoning from dumplings, so I think dumplings are just generally off the table at this point, but like I think about it and it makes me feel ill. So yeah. But yeah, to your point, I mean, yeah, it's how we grew up, which is really ironic. But when Dad brought things into the house, and then we moved to Massachusetts too, Mom started working a lot as well, and it kind of just, I don't know, things kind of just became as whatever. So, and I think that's one of the reasons, now that you think about it, I think there's a psychological thing there into why I gravitate towards so many like junky snacks, is because we didn't really have them when we were kids. So when we moved back to Massachusetts and I was introduced to things like fluff, for example, which actually the macros on fluff are pretty decent, but there weren't things we had. And I kind of always loved that. And for a while we still didn't have it in the house. Like I remember going to my neighbor's house and then having Cheez-Its, and I would eat just like a ton of the Cheez-Its. They're the best thing that I'd ever tasted. And then I think the big thing was our parents were so busy that we eventually, not like mommy and daddy's credit card, but when I was able to drive, I would do the grocery shopping for the house, so I could get all the shit that I couldn't get previously, and nobody really said anything because at that point I was 16, so it was like, what are you going to tell your 16-year-old he can't have goldfish? Like,
yeah, for me the urge never just really like, even when we got access to all of that. I mean, I've always been into cooking. That's the other thing, is like our parents always made like an activity out of cooking growing up, and always made it like an event, and they were always really excited about it. I think very few things make Dad happier than like being able to make pasta with someone and like teach someone how to make pasta. He's taught us how to make pasta. He's taught my friends, my roommates. Like I have him on video teaching people. Like it's truly like, it's a passion of his. Our parents, when we were kids, one of the really cool things that they would do is our dad bought that old Baker's Pride pizza oven. So it was like this old professional commercial pizza oven. He bought it off of eBay back in the early days of eBay. Like, because I've looked up the price of Baker's Pride ovens now, and oh my God, he got it for like, I think $150, $200 or something crazy really like that. Cheap. They're now like thousands. And he's an engineer, so he just wired like a new outlet into the house and plugged that in. And so the go-to party growing up at our house were the pizza parties. And our parents would like, especially Mom, would test so many varieties of dough. And it was just like, that was the house that we were raised in, is like, was that kind of just enthusiasm and like vigor towards food. And the flip side of that is, as conservative as our parents were with the food that we ate, being organic little children, the media that we consumed, or at least that I consumed as a kid, was pretty like strictly like monitored and like regulated.
Yeah, we
and
were
so I
like
wasn't allowed.
PBS kids.
We were PBS kids.
Yeah.
But like PBS kind of didn't scratch the itch for me all the time. And so like Food Network was one of the channels that I was allowed to like dip into. And so my bedtime routine growing up, it depended on the day of the week, would be watching like an episode of Good Eats with Alton Brown, or watching Emerald live and like waiting for his like final bam before he like goes. And so my first cookbook was
it not one from Emerald?
Emerald Lagasse. He had Emerald Live, but then he had a kids cookbook called "There's a Chef in My Soup," and I was obsessed with it. I thought it was like, I thought it was like it was like my introductory like drug to all of this, and I was always trying to like cook out of it, and I wanted more. And so what I started doing was I started setting an alarm that would go off before mom would wake up in the mornings for school. And so I would wake up at like 5 or like 4:30, and I would go downstairs and I would get There's a Chef in My Soup and open it up. And I would like make recipes from it before anyone had woken up, because I knew that if I did it and then if everything was done, I would only get in trouble. Like they couldn't stop me halfway through.
This is a true story.
Yeah, it was like a sunk cost thing as a kid, where I was just
like,
like,
no idea that this happened.
I remember it specifically doing it one time for his French toast recipe that he has in the book, and so like I had to like I remember following it to a T and like having to like figure out how to get things down from the shelves because they were too high up. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. There was like a bit about like you could like zest like an orange, and I remember like having to find like the zester. And so I did all of that and made myself breakfast from the cookbook. And then by the time mom came downstairs and was like, "Oh, what the hell? Like you used the stove without permission?" It was already done. And so mom actually took that as, oh, if he wants to make his own breakfast in the morning, that's on him. And she never made me breakfast before school ever again.
Jeez. So you ruined it for the rest of us.
I did. It was that was the undoing, because it was like in our house, if you could prove you could do something like safely, as long as it wasn't like illegal in some way, you were able to do it. And so like for me, first was like cooking, where I was like, oh, I'm going to cook on my own. And mom was like, all right, I'm not making food for this kid in the morning if he can do it himself. The other one was laundry. Like they saw that my friend was doing laundry at like age 6. And they were like, oh, if Matt's friend can do that, then Matt can do that. And so that's why we always had to do our laundry growing up, and mom wouldn't do laundry for us.
Ruined it for the rest of us. Honestly, I think mom, and this sounds so just terrible, I think mom does my laundry more now than she did when I was like a teenager. I mean, but that's how it goes. The lawnmower, it's funny because the like lawnmower is the same thing. I mowed the lawn of that house for ages. Now I got dad a lawn service. No more mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
Our parents were never big cost versus convenience people. I'm a big convenience person, so now I'm like, what can I just pay for it?
Our dad lived by the adage of like, if I have kids, I'm gonna have kids, and those kids are gonna have a function. They're not gonna be these leeches that just
functional children.
Yeah, and so it's like, as soon as you can hold a shovel, you're out shoveling snow during a blizzard. The only thing that pisses me off is he waited until I was in college to buy a snowblower.
He did do that, which was terrible, because the winters that we had at that point, like before that, were bad. Now we don't get as much snow for obvious reasons. But yeah, that was funny. And now the thing is we also hold on to all these gear and appliances and stuff like that way longer than we should. Like we need to replace the snowblower, and it's kind of falling apart and rickety. And that was the same thing with the lawnmowers. We've gone through like 2 lawnmowers, and I was like, dude, we're gonna spend $500 on another lawnmower and spend another year of our lives in 100-degree heat mowing this lawn, or we can pay somebody $50 a week to mow the lawn, and we all get our time back. And that was our thing. But yeah, I had no idea that you were doing that in the kitchen. That's so funny that I was blissfully unaware.
I was a sneaky little shit, but like,
I mean, yeah, we kind of
food was one of the things that I was sleuthy about.
You're not a chef, but like you're a very good like home chef. Your culinary talent is just off the charts, and that was another reason when we were talking about, like I felt there was a need to do something more with the podcast and something with Matt, and we have very complementary experiences because I do what I do with the snacks and the fast food, and sometimes there's some cooking elements, but that's the stuff that interests me. And your background as somebody who understands like flavor and like just like like the culinary side of things, you cook all the time, you're always experimenting, you're way more talented than I am, but you also understand like things like the LA restaurant scene and like the dynamics of all these different just parts of food, which is a skill set that I don't have. I have knowledge of food in different areas, and it just made so much sense for us eventually to be like, yeah, we should be doing this together because we each bring different perspectives to the table, but they work very well together.
Mom and dad were the kind of people who, growing up, they were like, oh, this is really, really good. Like if we went out to eat something or we would travel somewhere, they were always trying to reverse engineer what they had and how
they
to make
still
that
do that.
great.
That's a thing they've done as long as I've been alive, and for the rest of their lives they will do.
And that's kind of, I mean, I think that's become such an inherent component of our lives, because I even remember being like a kid, like if there was a Lego set that I wanted but like couldn't have, I would go and I would look at the image of it, or I would look at like a model that someone had made, and I would go back and I would reverse engineer it from like the exterior photo of it. And it was just like, we're always in this house of like, oh, if you don't understand something, like figure it out, like see how you can like reverse engineer it. And like, it didn't really like hit me full force until college, kind of like end of college, like graduating, where it's like I think it was when I was in college that I started looking at like the things that I was eating in my life, especially like being on my own and not being home all the time, even though I did live at home at times. But it was just like I would like taste things and I'd be like, okay, how it's not all that complicated, like how do I do this? And so like scrambled eggs was like the big one for me. Scrambled eggs was just like such a big lesson because we grew up in a house. Mom is kind of like an over hard scrambled egg kind of person.
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't until like we went to like Uncle Arthur's, our great uncle, where he did like the really low and slow scrambled eggs that are super custardy and just like creamy and whatnot.
With the salmon roe on top, a little bit of creme fraiche.
A little creme fraiche.
Bougie
some, like,
scrambled
chives.
egg.
Oh, these bougie as fuck. But like, I remember like looking at that and seeing these two dishes and being like, oh wow, there's like a lot of like nuance to something like really, really simple like this. And so I remember going on YouTube and like looking up like Gordon Ramsay's video on how to make the perfect scrambled eggs. And it was just like, that's where I just really started like experimenting with things, in some ways good and in some ways bad. I remember, I saw that video and I saw the amount of butter that he added in it. And I was like, holy shit, I need to add like as much butter to like everything as possible. And I remember one time I was making scrambled eggs for someone who I was trying to impress. And at the time I put in just a gargantuan amount of butter. In retrospect, it was like it was probably an inedible amount of butter to these scrambled eggs. Cause I was just like, oh, the richer it is, the better. But like, was where I really just started like experimenting and like thinking like, oh, like I really truly can like make whatever I want or like go anywhere in the world that I want. And then Los Angeles was kind of the undoing, because like when I came out here for the end of college, I was immersed in some of like the best like Latin American and Mexican food I've ever had in my life. And then I've predominantly lived in Koreatown, which is like notorious for having some of the best Korean food in the world outside of Korea. And that was kind of it. I was just like, I want to go places, but I can't afford to travel. Traveling's expensive. And like the only thing I ever want to do when I'm traveling is really eat, is
It's
really
about
like
food.
find the
It's
good
always
food
about
spots.
food. Yep.
And
I mean,
so
I'd love to see a mountain or two, but its cuisine is a whole different thing.
exactly. Every time I tried something new, it was just like I haven't found a cuisine that like I dislike. Mm, British
What
food, maybe.
what is what counts as British food?
But see, like I say that jokingly, and then I'm like, no, like I feel like a good mushy pea probably tastes amazing.
Does it? Not everything has to taste good. I've been
Well, if
thinking about
it's
cuttlefish. Cuttlefish sucks. That's from
no,
our own culture. Really? Oh, okay. He likes cuttlefish.
I I
Hate
don't
that shit. It's like
think
rubber.
I don't think we had cuttlefish prepared correctly.
I'm sure
And
there's
then
actually a fire way to prepare cuttlefish. Yeah, I'm with you.
And the other thing I saw a TikTok the other day that I really really liked, because one of the things, one of like the sayings or like things that I'm trying to like live by a lot now is like don't yuck someone's yum.
100%.
And
Well, yep.
so like I came across like a really good TikTok the other day of like this British girl trying fruits that she had never tried before. And
Ooh.
she was going through and they were all like really, she was trying things that she hadn't had before. So I think there was like a custard apple and like loquats and guava and
I love guava.
I don't know if it was lychee or longan or whatever it was. And I remember she got to like one fruit where she didn't like it. And her choice of words was, "This is not for me." And I remember being like, I saw that and I was just like, that's a really good, like, inclusive, smart way of saying like, I don't like this, I don't like the flavor, I don't like whatever. Just being like, this is not for me. And I scrolled into the comments and that had like struck a chord with some other people who were being like, it's really nice for you. I assume they were people who were either like of the culture or did like the thing that she didn't like. They're like, it's really nice that you framed it as like, it's not for me, and like not this is disgusting, this is gross, this is whatever. Because like it kind of comes down to that. Because like I don't like cheesecake. I I think cheesecake makes my stomach curl.
This is
Doesn't
where
mean
Matt
cheesecake.
is parts from the family because the rest of us are cheesecake fiends. But this is, yes, largely, this is what I say in so many of my videos too, because people have very visceral reactions to food sometimes. And even today was an example where I had talked about the orange cream M&Ms had returned at Dollar General, and somebody was like, you have zero taste if you like things that are orange cream. And it's like, why do you have to make people feel bad about liking things? Like, I can give you shit for not liking cheesecake, but I'm at the end of the day, like, the thing that I say is like, yeah, like, I like it, but not everybody has to like what you like. We have what, a million taste buds or something like that, and everybody's taste buds are going to be different.
Everyone's taste buds are different, and how those taste buds are wired is like
Yeah.
different. And
Marmite. Is it
like,
Marmite that you had ages back that you loved, or was it the other one?
oh, Marmite and Vegemite, I think, are
Yeah.
so fun.
Matt loves those. I can't stand them, but I'm also not going to sit there and be like, oh, bleh, that's like terrible. Horseradish, like, I don't like horseradish. There are a lot of things that I don't like, but I don't sit there and I tell people, you're crazy for liking this.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
This kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, but we grew up in a household where not trying something was not an option.
Yeah.
And I think for like mom and dad, they got really, I don't want to say lucky. They got lucky with me. You were a little bit more resistant to like doing as you were told. That's
Yeah.
kind of where we like
I was
differ
the
from each
rebellious
other.
child, and then as we became adults, it flipped.
Yeah, and I was more like, as a child, I was like very rule following, like color within the lines, do as you're told. And like the way it was framed was almost like it was always like a choice in a way. It's like, oh, you don't like something, you need to learn to like this. And like I even remember like growing up thinking that like one of my like turnoffs in a person was like if they didn't eat like all the same things as me, or as if they were picky eaters and things like that. And it wasn't until like, and this, it always goes that way. It's where you think like this, and then you meet someone who shows you that like it's this, and you're like, oh well, obviously I can't believe I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
But I had a coworker who was on the spectrum and whose partner was on the spectrum, and she did a really really cool work presentation talking about how people's proclivities or like fears about certain foods can be like so intertwined with their neurodivergency, and like how textures relate to things like that, how like certain foods or like concepts or the way things are treated can sort of like go into that. And there are just some people who are wired not to like certain things, and I don't know if we grew up in a house where that would necessarily be okay, but like there are people who like that, who like do exist and do have to like do the best with that. I remember seeing, I think it was like a Vice video or something a while ago that was talking about like a young kid who only eats mac and cheese for every meal.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And I remember it kind of had this like hook of like you like bought into it of like why, and like a lot of the comments on YouTube so often don't pass the vibe check.
Yeah,
but like they were like calling him out for that. It turns out this poor kid came from like a really unstable like home, and like no, I don't think anyone like cooked for him, and like mac and cheese was like the only thing that like he could like make himself, and
it's like the only thing that's
like
consistent too. If like going through that, and the only thing you have is mac and cheese, that's becomes more than a comfort food. It becomes the comfort.
For me, it's like I'm not gonna. If someone doesn't like something at this point, I'm just kind of like that's fine. That's how you are. Because there's usually an underlying reason. I think one of the reasons I don't like cheesecake is I realized I have a threshold for like richness. And I find cheesecake like very, very, very rich. I can't do rich. Like I'm the same way with lobster. I've realized is like when I have lobster, there's like a threshold that I hit where I'm like, no more lobster. I don't want that.
Yeah, that's how I feel about shrimp too. Is I love lobster. I like crab. I can deal with prawns to an extent, but it is shrimp to me is not so much a flavor thing as it is a texture thing. Until I found the first shrimp that I voluntarily enjoyed in Vegas, probably 3 months ago. It was shrimp sashimi. And I was like, this is incredible. But I have a thing too where I don't like cooked fish. I don't like the texture. I don't really like the flavor. But the shrimp thing is a very strong case of that, where texturally
And see, texture for me doesn't faze me. For me, it's like almost purely about flavor. Like I don't care. I don't care about the temperature of something. I don't care about, I mean, I do care if it's cooked. And like, for me, the best experiences are the ones where it's like had at the intended temperature. Yeah. But I'm never going to like, I'll eat things cold if I have to, as long as like it tastes good. I'm there and I will make it work. I'm like so not picky about that.
So what's the thing with the cheesecake then? It's just the richness.
It's too
threshold.
rich. It's
so
just
like
the
Oreo Dream Extreme. You like, okay.
And it doesn't even go for like all cheesecakes even, because Liz, my girlfriend, her mom has a recipe for like a lemon raspberry cheesecake that's like very tart because it has like a lemon curd in that, and I find that like acceptable and like passable. So if anything, I feel like a full-fledged like New York cheesecake that's like cream cheese through and through is just like a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, the more I've done this, the more I've learned that it's okay for people to have different opinions about taste, and I hate when people make you feel bad for not liking a certain thing. And like there's so much nuance to it too. It's the same way with, if I cover like a dairy-free release and somebody's like, or like a gluten-free release, and people are like, oh, gluten-free is a fad, or like, why are you guys skipping out on dairy? It's like there are reasons why people can't have things, and they don't want to have it. It's up to them, man. There are plenty of people who can't have gluten because of celiac stuff or sensitivities. There are plenty of people who can't have dairy items because it just doesn't sit well with them. They don't want to feel like garbage. There are so many different reasons why. Or if somebody doesn't want to eat meat because of personal values, cool. There are also people who get Lyme disease, and Lyme disease fucks with their sensory input, so meat tastes like rotting flesh, which sounds like my hell, but it's a thing. Like, you don't know what people are dealing with and other levels of why they do it. And also, it's like, why do you care?
Imagine living in a desert and not being able to eat like the cactus that's there, and then one day someone's just like, no, we made a thornless cactus for you.
Thornless cactus for you.
And you can just eat that shit. And
did you come up with that off the dome?
I did. I didn't think it was particularly like.
I thought that was so profound.
Because I was thinking food desert, and then I was like, shit, what's in a desert?
Cactus.
And it's like, oh, there's cactus in a desert. Well, what if you can't eat the cactus?
Yeah.
But it's like, camels can eat the cactus. Like, it's food for them. But camels can. I'm pretty sure camels like can eat it with like the spines and all. Their mouths are like
strong ass tongue. I could never.
I'll need like the zoologist to check me on that. But like,
check it later.
Or I went on a few dates with someone who was vegan, and in LA, that's not a problem because there's so much good vegan food here. Like, there used to be this restaurant called Mohawk Bend that was like, really, they had both meat-based dishes, but then they had vegan-based dishes. And so I would go there with friends all over the dietary spectrum, and everyone could get something they want.
I'd try it.
But like, circling back, like, LA's like a great place for vegans, but then like this particular individual was from like, middle of America, and like talked about how like when she would go home, how hard it was to like stick to veganism because like where she was from, it wasn't prolific. It wasn't like a thing. Look at like where people can score those victories. The gluten-free people, they can have this win. The vegetarians, vegans, they can have this win. It doesn't mean any less for the rest of us. Yeah, you got to take people deserve whatever victories they can have with food.
They really do.
Wherever they can.
Yeah, a couple of years ago it's pretty sick GI wise, and I ended up going gluten-free for a couple months, I want to say, and it was really, really hard. But yeah, realizing that all these things that I had wanted, or all these things that I had lived with for so long, I could straight up no longer have. And a lot of things there weren't alternatives for. But there was a company, and this is not sponsored, hashtag not sponsored, called Feel Good Foods. And they're in the freezer aisle, and they're a little bit pricey, honestly, because like some of their frozen food is like $7 or $8 for like 5 or 6 pieces. It's a little bit up there, but they had these pizza roll dupes that were made with a cauliflower crust, and they're fantastic. Like, they're so good. And I used to eat so much of them, and I wish they did a pizza roll size back. I still buy them because they were really that delicious. So yeah, we are really lucky to be in that era. And that's every once in a while something comes across my desk and I announce it and people get excited. People ask me all the time. They're like, oh, can you do like a gluten-free specific thing? And I'm like, I would if there were more things to talk about. It's not as publicized, but try and always like slip in something when I can, because it gets a lot of people excited. And it doesn't take away from, if a roundup has 8 items, it doesn't take away from the other 7 to be like, hey, plant-based folks, except for that one guy that's like, vegans are just like the worst. And I'm like, okay, all right, man. It's not that serious.
Vegan dishes exist in every culture around the world and slap. Like,
yeah, there's some good stuff. Salad's vegan, bro. Without meat, shit.
Well, no, not if you put cheese on a salad.
That's true. Or some of the dressings have dairy in it as well.
Yeah, and not all dairy products are vegetarian. Like,
facts.
Parmesan cheese has rennet in it, and so people.
Does it really?
Yeah, that's how they. Well, to my understanding, like, tried and true, like, Parmigiano Reggiano is made with rennet. I think some people are now using like lab derived versions of rennet to like make like a non-animal like byproduct version of it. I say that as an animal byproduct, but
this reminds me of a fascinating question when I've never talked to you about, and I'm curious about your perspective. How do you feel about lab grown meat?
I have no issue with it.
Neither do I. But I do think about it. I generally don't. I remember doing a video on it like years ago, hoping I was going to get more response because I was like, oh, this seems like a controversial topic. It seems like a really fascinating thing. Have you tried it?
I haven't. Like, the most I've ever tried is like Impossible products.
Yeah. But those are
I
still
mean,
plant-based.
I'm always for ensuring that like the ethics of the animals that we consume is improved. And
Yeah.
so if lab grown meat means we can enjoy the same product without like the emotional burden and distress, I would be okay with it. It's so hard to be like an ethical consumer today.
It is. It's very difficult. It's something I struggle with on a regular basis from the meat standpoint in particular because I really don't like food waste. I don't think I could ever be a vegetarian or a vegan purely because of the fact that I love so many different things. I mean, giving up cured meats alone sounds terrible, but I hate food waste because I get into that cycle where I'm like, an animal did die for this, and I value the lives, and it's very tricky to be like, yeah, how do you find that balance? This is something that we've talked about a lot too, is
Yeah.
being more intentional about food consumption, which is ironic given, I know that the line of work that I'm in with snacks and fast food, it gets difficult, but I'm always interested to see how people bring in things like even sustainable packaging or more sustainable practices. It's difficult to find that balance. And that's another reason why we're here, is to explore themes like this and talk to people and get their stories, but explore themes like this and figure out, how to make a positive impact, because it's important to talk about.
I think the best that you can do yourself is really like that's all that's really important,
Mhm.
because accessibility and like infrastructure also matters so much, and it depends on like where you live, because like I try to stretch everything that I have to the most. And so, by and large, if I'm cooking or if I'm lurking, and this goes for both meat and vegetable products, but like my goal is to save all of the trim, to save all of like if I'm like cooking with like a chicken for some reason, I'll save the carcass, I'll save the skin, I'll save the trimmings to like make a stock, or I'll save vegetable trim to again make a stock or to make bouillon cubes. I also compost, so I can compost
We
my
do
yard
too.
waste.
Yeah, we are a
But
big compost household.
but where I live, composting is a part of our infrastructure. So, like living in LA, we have our green
Really?
bins. And so, our green bins are for all organic matter. I think there are stipulations on that, but it's like all of your food waste is supposed to go in there. And that includes like chicken bones and meat bones and meat byproducts.
Really?
Because I think the way that LA is trying to compost, it actually allows those things to like break down, and so then I believe that compost is redistributed to like local farms. I think it's available for like LA residents to like pick up for free. I think like the idea is like you show up and you basically just take as much as you can like fit in your car, your truck, or whatever that you
Just
can
a full
carry.
truck bed filled with everybody's trash.
And so like we have a very like closed loop there, where it's like at the end of the day, even if you do waste things, you know that it's going to be like repurposed. But then I'll talk to friends of mine who live near you, who they have to pay to participate in their compost program, and they actually like they split the cost of it with neighbors. And so like they have multiple neighbors that they all like input in their compost together and take it away. And so if you're unable to afford that option, or you
Yeah.
live somewhere where that isn't an option, that automatically changes what you can and cannot do. It's also easy for me to save my trim because my freezer's pretty empty. But like, I don't know, say you live in an apartment with like a mini fridge or something, because that's all you can afford. You're not going to be able to save your trim.
Yep.
If you lived in LA, it's better because then you can just drop your stuff in the green bin. But like, that varies depending on where you are.
True, because we have a full yard, obviously, and in the yard we have space for a compost bin. So everything that we have that's at least plant matter, for the most part, that goes into the compost bin. At least during the warm month. In the winter, it's harder because everything freezes and builds up. But during the summer, we go pretty hard on the compost. And if you don't have a proper yard, or you live in an HOA condo, your neighbors might not want you to have compost there, and there's like a whole different thing. But yeah, we've got some pretty nice soil going, especially like after October with all the pumpkins. You throw them in, they go in there, and then you kind of just churn it up. And then I think Mom and Dad are going to try and do a garden this year, but they're getting pretty late in the season, so I don't know if that's actually going to happen. Hope they do.
I've been trying to get them to go for a garden for a while.
You've been doing it a long time.
I wish they would go team no mow and just like get rid of the lawn and turn that into like a food forest. But
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
What is that?
I mean, not to get on like a soapbox at all, but lawns are
Do it.
bad.
Lawns are bad. Okay.
Lawns were like an aristocratic status symbol at one point. Like the idea was to show off, like, here's how much land I can have, and here's how like I can afford to maintain that land. And blah blah blah. We fertilize and we cut and we expend so much fossil fuels on cutting like flat grass everywhere when there's alternatives that like clover, for instance. Clover stays short. That can be, you can use that as like a no-mow lawn, or like different kinds of fescues. And it's like, because that's the other thing, is you didn't like mowing the lawn growing up.
No, it sucks.
It's kind of wasteful
to do it now.
Like literally, like every single week, cutting this grass, expending a tank of gasoline, spending hours going back and forth. And like, candidly, how often do you guys use the lawn?
Man, not as much as we did when we were kids. That's 100% for sure.
Exactly. And it's like, it's all of this work for like, what, appearances? But like, imagine how many rows of like things you could grow on the lot that you guys are on. That would be
basically like turning it back into a farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, what if we grow too much? You give it away. And it's like, for foodies like mom and dad, growing your own stuff, you get so much variety that you don't have access to. You get stuff that's so much fresher and better. And it's like, I'm not trying to be like this alt-righty cottage core, like homesteader.
No seed oils.
But like, you can grow your own stuff and enjoy your processed foods at the same time and have the best of both worlds.
But that summarizes one of the reasons why we are here together as well, is because we have these perspectives, and Matt and I don't always agree on things either, as nobody should, but we have so much common ground and can see all of these cool ways to do these things, because you can't 100% do that. My whole thing is like, I get the crazy people that come to my comments, they're like, this is poison. I'm like, dude, you can enjoy one fucking milkshake in a week and eat whatever the hell else you want. You want to eat 100% clean, whatever, go ahead, by all means. It's not really attainable for regular people to eat natural foods all the time, but people shouldn't be chastised for enjoying something like fast food. It's crazy how there's no middle ground for a lot of folks. I never tell anybody to get all the things I talk about. I'm like, if you like this, it exists. Like, hey, this is a thing. But it's the people that are like, oh my God, this is terrible. It's like murder. And I'm like, I don't know, bro. I just want a quarter pounder.
I think it's a quantity issue.
It is a quantity issue.
Everything can be poison or toxic enough in like the right quantity. Like you can drink enough water that your kidneys shut down and you die. Yeah. Okay.
You can drown yourself by drinking too much water.
You can drown in a puddle if you really tried, but like, so don't go consuming that much. I'm not eating Doritos every single day, but oh my God,
the golden sriracha
if I see a golden sriracha Doritos bag somewhere, I am gonna like fuck shit up.
Do you know what I had today from Doritos that I'd never had before? Is the late night sizzling cheeseburger. It's an incredible chip. There are 3 of them in the line. There is a late night jalapeno popper, I believe, which is exclusive to Kroger and Kroger owned stores, e.g. Ralph's. There is a late night loaded taco, which I really didn't like. It was accurate, but it was just too much taco seasoning. And I had the sizzling cheeseburger, and I was like, oh, it's incredible. Not as good as the tangy golden sriracha Doritos, because those things are majestic. But it is absolutely a quantity thing, 100%. And I would love to have my own garden ready vegetables. I'd love to have my own eggs, dude. We talked about this growing up for ages. We always had talked about like doing chickens at some point. I mean, what's not to love about that?
One of the most like eye-opening experiences to me that really just solidified the American experience is I was in Nairobi, and I was going to the grocery store to do some shopping, and I turned down the bread aisle, and it was bread next to the eggs. The eggs weren't refrigerated because like they don't pasteurize their eggs around the world. They don't wipe that like film, pasteurize your milk, but they don't, these eggs are born with like a protective layer around them. I also think maybe it has something to do with like the quantity with which we harvest eggs in the country.
Yeah.
long story short, I just want eggs that I don't have to store in my fridge because that's more fridge space that I have. And also, like, room temperature eggs are better to cook with.
How were they?
And so, like, yeah, well, I mean, you want, to my understanding, unless specified that things need to be cold, you want all of your ingredients to be at room temperature when you cook with them.
I had no idea. See, this is the thing, is you know so much more about this than I cook, but, like,
I mean,
you chef.
The chefs listening can, like, correct me on that.
Well,
but
we will have some on here as well, so...
My understanding is, like, in recipes, it'll specify when things need to be cold. Otherwise, like, assume that it's had time to come up to room temperature. So it's like my friend Alexis came out with a cookbook years ago called To the Last Bite. And in it, there is a recipe for Dutch babies.
Oh,
and man. Dutch babies are one of those recipes where it's really, really important that your ingredients have had time to come up to room temperature, because that's what gives you that, like, puffiness when you put it in the oven and it inflates upwards. And so in the recipe, she specifies making sure that your milk is at room temperature and making sure that even the egg is at room temperature, because if they're too cold, when you mix all that batter together and pour it into your hot pan and throw it in the oven, it's not going to puff up as well if the ingredients are cold as they would when it's hot. Same thing goes for a steak, to my understanding, is like you want your steak to be very, very dry, but you also want your steak to have had time to come up to room temperature before you sear it in a pan. And that guarantees that you get, like, the best cook on it, but also that it's, like, the right amount of doneness in the middle and is not underdone.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out the nuances behind some of that stuff when it comes to the cooking. But yeah, there's so much. There's really just so much, and that it's just a fascinating world. There are all these different angles that you can approach food with, and we were never really raised in a food elitist house, and that was one of the core reasons why I wanted. I think our perspectives are not of a food elitist opinion. I think that you and I have very balanced looks at food, which was one of the reasons why I originally created the podcast, was to get people inspired about food, but to also normalize conversations around food and get rid of that sort of, like, this is killing you, or you should only eat from, like, Michelin star restaurants, and anything that's not prepared by a true chef is garbage. There's so many different dynamics when it comes to what you put in your body.
Yes.
Meow.
100% agree with what you're saying. But on the subject of food elitism and the house that we grew up in, there are some things that were said that I would qualify our food elitism. Dad is unflinchingly a purist about what he allows on a pizza.
Facts. Which is nothing, and maybe sausage, and maybe a white pizza. I love Hawaiian pizzas. I think Matt
it's one of the greatest things Canada has ever done, and I hope...
Is that a Canadian thing? Is that where it
Hawaiian
comes from?
pizzas are originally from... So many of those things, those, like, American things, like, I don't think California rolls are from California. I think that's Canadian too. But
what is it about what is it about the Hawaiian pizza that has... because I mean, I can get down with, like, a hot honey pepperoni pizza, so I like the sweetness. And is it the same thing? Just kind of the salty,
it's the same
sweet
thing. You've got, like, that, like, you got the crunch. If it's a good pizza, you got the crunch of the crust, and if the ham is in the oven at the right time, it gets a little bit crispy, like the pepperoni, and then you get the sweetness from the pineapple that plays so well with the saltiness of the meat and the saltiness of the cheese, and, like, it doesn't really, like, compete too much with, like, because we put pineapples in salsa, so it goes well with the tomatoes. Like, that is all okay to me. I remember I was interacting with someone, this was not family, who, like, I mentioned loving American cheese on a burger because, like, American cheese, there's no cheese that melts like it. Is it legally cheese? It is
sometimes
dairy
it's the
product.
only cheese that melts without splitting. Name that movie. Oh, come on. This is one of my favorite memories of ours in recent years.
It's the only cheese that melts without splitting. It's the only cheese that... Anora?
Nope, no, not Anora.
I assume anything you want to talk about is Anora.
Does that come with American cheese? Yes, it's the only cheese that melts without splitting.
I'm gonna kick myself when you tell me.
Oh, this is terrible because we went and got burgers after the movie.
What did we see? What movie was it?
The Menu.
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe that. It's one of my favorite memories of ours in recent years. We went to see The Menu. I'd seen The Menu maybe 2 or 3 times within that week because I loved it. So I took Matt to see The Menu, and then we went and we got McDick's afterwards because we were just like so just burger. It was something with the burger. We need a burger, but American cheese is the only cheese that melts without splitting, supposedly. So they said in the movie. I never looked that up, but
the person I was interacting with was like, "Oh my god, you put American cheese on burgers," and it's like, yeah, don't.
That's like the most classic way to have a hamburger. What cheese are they putting on a burger? Are they putting like
cheddar?
Well, yeah, but American cheese on a burger doesn't seem like. Was this like
they were looking down on just the American cheese as itself, as like the Kraft single wrapped in like plastic. And it was just like it was pure elitism. It was just like, oh,
that is
I don't
food
think
elitist.
I don't think that ingredient is like highbrow enough. I don't think that ingredient is like good. And it's like, well, sometimes that ingredient is affordable or available. And listen, the scientists did a damn good job when they were splicing those genetic components. And like, you know.
But think about it. You go to a cookout, right? And you're all grilling. And I love one of my favorite things on the cheese market. Both Tillamook and Cabot, they rival each other, and they rival each other very well. But you've got the Tillamook white cheddar slices and the Cabot white cheddar slices. I don't like orange cheddar. This is my food elitist thing because it tastes like annatto. They color it with annatto, and all I can taste is the annatto. So like, on like a burger, once it melts, it's fine. And if you want it, cool. But I like that. I like those white square cheddar slices. I put them in my breakfast burritos, my breakfast sandwiches, like all that good stuff. But if I'm feeding 20 people at a party, the Cabot ones are like, it's maybe like $8 for 8 slices. So am I really gonna go and spend like $30-something on cheese when I can get a pack of that shit from Kraft for, $5 for 20 slices? It becomes an economics thing when you're feeding a lot of people. I'm not putting white cheddar on all my cookout burgers. This is gonna be really exciting. We have a lot of people on the queue for guests from all across the food world and all sorts of different realms like we've had before. We've got creators, we've got chefs, we've had people who, from who even knows, like reality shows, all sorts of different things. And it's all around food. Maybe once or twice we'll have somebody who's not about food, but we are here to talk about food.
Yeah, it's in our blood.
It is in our blood.
And it's really all that we talk about outside of,
every time I FaceTime Matt's he's just cooking every single time. I'm like, all right, there's like a 90% chance that if I FaceTime Matt, he's doing something in the kitchen, which is why it's a really cool way for us to make beef medium something that's so much more, because I love what I do and I can talk about everything that you can find in the grocery store and in whatever your chain restaurants are and whatever's going on with like flavor trends. But then you have somebody who I've known my entire life who knows food on a different level, and it's such a cool dynamic. And there are so many people that we know mutually. The conversations are going to be really exciting. The first couple episodes that we put out in, at the end of last year, everybody was super stoked about them, and it's only going to get better from here.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see who we meet and what perspectives we get from it.
Hell yeah, man. We will be back every Tuesday, every week. Thank you to my brother for joining me as the co-host of this podcast. I'm super excited that you're here. It really means the world.
It's good to be here. It's exciting.
Let's do it.